The Coleman medal.
The Norm Smith medal.
Brownlow medal.
Is Jimmy Bartel.
Matthew Lloyd.
What a game we have tomorrow night at the MCG, Jimmy, to kick off the round. It's an absolute beauty. It's Melbourne versus the Brisbane Lions. And we've got the big questions we're going to ask each other tonight.
Yep.
A lot around how Brisbane can go and can they match Melbourne?
Yeah, especially in the midfield, Lloydie. And we take a look at some of the numbers and you've noticed some improvement from the Melbourne midfield this year.
Yeah, it is. So can the Brisbane Lions match Melbourne through the midfield? So this is how the midfield's going. So number one, scores from clearance, centre bounce clearance fourth, first possessions third. Their scoring, which was a problem for them, that's now gone for fourth. Scores per inside 50 and goals per inside 55th now. So they're improving out of sight. And it's just how powerful. Look at that midfield. Pickett will be out. Petrarca, Viney, Oliver. It's can Brisbane handle? So Dunkley's been a good pickup. Doesn't kick a lot of goals. Lockie Neal doesn't kick a lot of goals. Sparrow has improved. So my answer is probably no. Can they handle this Melbourne midfield? And it's this sort of running and power out of centre bounce. Petrarca started the chain, gets the footy. They are right on top of their game.
Yeah, and it's spread. And you touched on Sparrow, but you're throwing Neil Bullen, who comes up as well. They've got the licence just to take off after they have the initial contest. And for me, Lloydie, it starts with the big guy and big Oscar McInerney. And Max Gawn, look at these numbers. These are his All-Australian years. You look, he's pretty much above in all those areas. And I think he's taken all the outside noise, put it on his shoulders, and he's leading the D's super well. But how can you nullify that as far as if you're Oscar McInerney or... Joe Danaher. And look at this. Port Adelaide does it to him every single time. They get into him, they rough him up, they stop his run to another stoppage. You've got to wear down the big guy. Sometimes you give away a free kick. That's Brodie Grundy, his old mate from the D's. Giving away a free kick, okay, you don't want to give away those, but you've got to take sort of the legs of Big Max and just try and wear him down.
Has Big O got it in him, or is it the whole team that needs to do it?
It's a whole team job, and it always gets put up on the board. You circle his name. If he's running 50 metres to get over to a boundary throwing, just stop in his way, slow him down, just wear him out. I
know a lot's made of Eric Hipwood and Joe Danaher, but they dined out on North Melbourne last week. But can they do it against a top-notch defence? So this was last week. And this is not AFL standard defence from the North Melbourne team. So they were able to run in the space. Look at this. Joey doesn't really have any touch on him. What's this one from Hipwood? There's actually no opponent on him from North Melbourne. So they were really poor the week before, and now they come up against Stephen May and Jake Lever. So I can't wait to see how these two big forwards perform.
Look at Rankin here. That's what you're after. You just, not that exactly. You want the ball coming down to the ground. The smalls just need a chance. Too far off. You don't need the big, long, searching leads. You either make the contest and get the ball to ground.
So it's about how they compete. So it's not about kicking bags of goals, but they must compete hard. And the last question is, where does the run come from for the Brisbane Lions?
Yeah, I know we're focused on the forwards and the midfield for the Lions, but I think they're really missing Kadeen Coleman. You throw in McKenna as well. I think they've got a player there in Darcy Wilmot. We've all been impressed last year. He played 26 games, but this is what he can do. He's brave, he's lively, he takes the game on with plenty of energy. If they can get him involved running from behind, it breaks ground and territory, and it's so good for that high power forward line that you just highlighted before, Lloydie. Look at this just cuts the ground apart. You look at the amount of opposition players that get left behind him. There's a real opportunity. Get the ball in his hands, break some lines going forward.
If they're to make top four Brisbane, I think they have to win this game. You can't start a season 1-4. I don't think they're going to be good enough to do it though, Jimmy. I think Melbourne win this. What do you think?
Yep, D's at the G for me.
Yeah, big game for the Brisbane Lions.
Go on, boys. Look forward to you going through the Western Bulldogs and Essendon, particularly Aaron Norton and GWS and St Kilda. That's coming up in Medallion Club. More Footy Classified right after this.
The Coleman medal.
The Norm Smith medal.
Brownlow medal.
Is Jimmy Bartel.
Matthew Lloyd.
Both the Western Bulldogs and the Bombers need a win, Jimmy, after coming off losses last week. And Brad Scott, well, he was disappointed in his midfield last week, and he had this to say about where they were beaten.
We were, beaten soundly in the contest where it mattered, and most of that's, stoppage, centre bounce, and then outworked from that part of the game.
Well, I'd show one clip to my players about how we were disrespected in a way by Connor Rozee that you'd never want to see again. So watch Connor Rozee. He looks at Hobbs and says, you know what? I don't need to kick. I can charge straight through you because that's what I can do. And then that led to the centre bounces, Jimmy, where they were absolutely belted, weren't they, by Port Adelaide?
Yeah, it's the spread from contest. It's the initial action around it. They're pushed under it. They're bullied around it. I think Brad Scott highlighted it perfectly. But look at this. This is just walking through. You give your defenders no opportunity. You've got to actually put enough pressure on to let them in the game. And that'll be important this week, in particular against that big forward line of the Dogs. That's Connor Rozee down here. You just miss him, but watch who bobs up. Right here, even a dribbling ball that's hard to pick up. He was in the centre bounce. He beats back every Essendon player. Another snap goal.
How would you compare the Dogs' midfield to that of Port Adelaide?
Well, they were pretty physical last week against the Cats. Libba's in great form, Bont's in super form, and Treloar's winning a truckload of the footy. And I just want to highlight they can actually do it and how you can give your defenders a chance. Mackay was super. But look at that, right down the bottom, you're forcing the opposition wide, allows the defender to get best position fly at the mark. Again, enough pressure here on the initial contest, forces a quick kick off the ground. You give your defenders a chance. This one's another perfect example. Rozee steps, but come in, force him wide. At least Mackay can actually take best position and come for the footy, turn it over as well.
Yeah, their first quarter was good, the Bombers just didn't do it for long enough. Eddie, you touched on Aaron Norton. Want to look at the inside 50 targets at the Western Bulldogs. So Jamara Dougal-Hagan this year has been targeted 27 times, but he's just kicked the 6 goals. Cody Waitman, you said how well he's going. He's been targeted 10 times, but he's kicked 11 goals. So he makes things out of nothing at ground level. Norton just 10 times inside forward 50. So they don't go to him that much. And I think they need to keep him closer to goal. So you've got guys like Riley West and Darcy, who hasn't even played that much, who they've gone to just as much. And we used to play on Chris Tarrant. We used to say he can have as many touches as he wants on the wing. Just pick him up on the way back inside 50, because that's where we don't want him marking. But that's where Norton's doing a lot of his work, Jim.
Yeah, it's almost like the old school centre-half role, centre-half forward role they've got him playing. But I'm with you, at different times he's got to swap over, have a turn deep in the goal square, and at least then can ask some questions of the opposition.
The smalls out the Dogs you've been really impressed with.
Yeah, the steak and sizzle, if you call it. And I'm loving what Waitman, we highlighted him last week, but he does this inside forward 50, tackling pressure when you've got lots of tools around you. Riley West, I really enjoy watching Riley West play footy because he's a footballer. He's always thinking, look at this, knocks it out into space. They get a goal off the back of it. So they bring the hard toughness, their ball use and smarts, good little bit of patience outside forward 50. Hits up the other guy we're talking about, Waitman. So this is all the steak. And then you have a look at this. Bit of sizzle, some bit of excitement here, jumping on the back of big Tim English. Love just seeing smart footballers go about their work inside forward 50.
The Dogs in a tight one for me. Who do you think?
Dogs, 3 goals.
The Giants and the Saints, they last played in an elimination final, and the Giants I knew they'd arrive. I thought, wow, how good do they look? And it was the run and the carry. You look at the scoring, first, and it's all the Giants. They score 7 more goals a game than the Saints. But you touched on the players at the back line, Jim.
So we'll keep an eye here. This is Finn Callahan right here, who actually fell over. Harry Perryman and Tom Green. You watch as this plays out, the running power of the Giants, and the rosy cheek assassin, Finn Callahan, gets on in the end. We get up here, this is a contest. First couple of players that come back in here, there's Perryman, there's Green, who get on the end of it, wax a little bit, get on the outside. There goes Finn Callahan down the bottom of the screen here. He's up near the centre of the ground after starting on his backside at the goal square and opened to Jesse Hogan, who's a massive danger.
He is, and we'll look at the scoring again, which is going to be the Saints' challenge. So this year, the Giants average 115 points a game. The Saints 74. So first v 14th, average goals 17 to 10. So I think Rossi's only chance here is probably to make it a real grind there at Manuka Oval. But Jesse Hogan, he's leading the Coleman by 2 goals. He's one of the great stories in the AFL. But how smart is he as a footballer? He just doesn't stop. And I don't think we talk about him enough, what a smart footballer he is. He was drafted number 1 for a reason. It's so good to see that he's going to get the best out of himself at his 3rd club. He just turns players inside out. So he's got obviously a young North defender here. But if he's not used the first time, he gets back. And he's been doing it time and time again. I can't believe how many marks he gets in the central corridor for the Giants.
Yeah, you're right. He takes the space in front of him. He never chews up his own leading space. Gets in the eyes of the kicker. Look at that straight away. The kicker looks up and he's coming straight at him. If you overcommit, he can get you out the back.
The Saints captain?
Yeah, I absolutely love the way he plays his footy. Former Giant in his hometown, Canberra. Always plays well against the Giants, and he was enormous last weekend, in particular in the second half. These are the numbers, it stacks up. He's been All-Australian a couple of times, but his numbers are just a bit better against the Giants, so they've got to be wary of the Saints skipper.
Yeah, I'd pick Sam Taylor over any defender in the game. I think he's the best in it, and it's an advantage if you're Max King because your brother played on him the week before. So this is an advantage. So last week, Ben King played on Taylor. He kicked 3 goals, but Taylor was huge in the contest. I reckon it's on Max King now to take his game to a new level, Jim. He's going okay without probably reaching where he wants to reach.
Yeah, speaking of reach, this is how he's got to play Sam Taylor. When Max King and Ben King previously get their arms up, the best you can do is just hope he drops it. You're punching him pretty much in the numbers at the back there. with the previous ones with his brother, he got caught in contests where the ball was at eye level. Not too many guys can reach up the height of Max King, reaching above and jumping for the footy.
Yeah, must be doing 2 and 3 and 4 leads on Sam Taylor to beat him, but the Giants should be too strong, Jim.
Well, I'm going to tip the Giants.
Yeah.
Good on you, boys. Hey, so just quickly, so the Dogs, beaten narrowly last week, can go 3-2 this week. Is it that close? Are they playing that well but just missing out? Where do you really see? Are they pressing up?
No, I think they were that far off Melbourne
Yeah.
early on. I still think they're a fair way off the top 4 to 6 sides.
All right. Well, have a
West
good look.
Coast and Gold Coast only to this point.
Yep. All right.